History's strange, it's alien, and it won't give us what we would like to have.
In December of 1826, in the town of Nacogdoches, Mexican Texas, a red and white flag was raised over the old stone fort. It declared the birth of a nation that almost no one remembers. The Republic of Fredonia. It lasted barely a month. It never won a battle. It collapsed in confusion and flight. And yet, this small failure lit the fuse for something much larger, a chain reaction that would end 10 years later in the Texas Revolution. This is the story of how a spark became a wildfire. The ground was already unstable. Mexico's strategy for Texas relied on the impresario system. Anglo-American settlers were invited in to populate and defend the frontier under the colonization laws of 1823 and 1825. In April of 1825, Hayden Edwards received a contract to settle 800 families in East Texas. He arrived in Nacogdoches that September and immediately made a disastrous move. He demanded that all existing landowners prove their titles or lose their land. In a town full of old Spanish and Mexican claims, some a century old, this was gasoline on a fire. The dispute soon turned political. An election for alcalde pitted Edwards' son-in-law against an old settler candidate. Edwards certified his own relative as the winner amid fraud claims. Mexico intervened. The political chief overturned the election and installed the old settler candidate. Edwards refused to accept it. By mid-1826, the Mexican government annulled his contract entirely. It cost Edwards an estimated $50,000 and hardened his resolve to break away. The rebellion began in November of 1826. 36 armed men seized Nacogdoches and arrested local officials. On December 21st, they signed a Declaration of Independence at the Old Stone Fort. They also made a dangerous alliance with Cherokee leaders Richard Fields and John Dunn Hunter, dividing Texas between red people and white people under a new flag. It was bold, it was reckless, and it terrified everyone around them. The rebellion collapsed not because of Mexico, but because of its neighbors. Stephen F. Austin denounced the uprising and marched with Mexican troops against the Fredonians. Mexican agents persuaded the Cherokee to abandon the alliance. Fields and Hunter were executed by their own people. Outnumbered and isolated, the rebels fled into the United States. The Republic ended without a real fight. Mexico did not shrug and move on. In 1828, General Manuel de Mier y Terán was sent to investigate Texas. His report was alarming. Anglo settlers outnumbered Mexicans 10-1. American influence was overwhelming. Mexican sovereignty was dangerously weak. Texas, he warned, could throw the whole nation into revolution. The response was swift and severe. The law of April 6, 1830 shut the door. Immigration from the United States was banned. Impresario contracts were suspended. Slavery was restricted. New forts and customs houses enforced federal control. The law changed everything. Settlers who had been loyal moderates were suddenly treated as potential invaders. Even men like Austin were alienated. The government's crackdown gave credibility to radical voices and created the resistance Fredonia never managed to inspire. Fredonia failed, but the reaction to it did not. A spark led to an alarm. The alarm led to overreaction. Overreaction led to alienation. And alienation led, inexorably, to revolution. That is how a forgotten republic helped give birth to Texas.
Check out more stories from history at davedoeshistory.org.